Hello and welcome to Three Sisters, One Heart podcast. I'm Shannon.
I'm Tiffany.
I'm Heather.
And today first of all, we're a little bit delayed. So sorry. We'll talk about it some more. And we'll get into it a little bit and explain. But I had surgery, threw off our schedule. It's my fault.
It's always your fault.
It usually is.
Yes.
I'm sorry. But today we're going to talk about feminism a little bit, which I think can sometimes be a little bit controversial. I know that Heather and I both, whenever Tiffany mentioned that we should do this, we were like, oh, okay. Only because maybe it's just something I don't know much about.
Yeah.
A little uncomfortable. But first, let's jump into trials.
All right.
Who's going to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. So, as you guys know, and I haven't talked, I don't think, about it on the podcast yet, but I am having some septic issues. Our house was built in the 50s. We did do a remodel, but our septic was fine.
What is fine even?
Wasn't fine very long. And we have to get a new septic put in, which means we have to get a whole new septic system, including a drain field, which we didn't have before because our house was built so far back. And it is going to take up like 2/3 of my yard, like 2/3 of my open space in my yard.
It's going to be like ours.
It's going to be huge.
Like that, it's your entire yard.
Yeah. So, a little disappointed.
Yeah.
A little disappointed. I was really hoping, because when I first talked to them, they were like, well, you know, it depends on your water level and stuff like that, and what is around you. There's a lot of factors. But they said like maybe you won't even have to have an above ground drain field, but that's not the case. I needed a big above ground drain field, and it's going to be enormous. They're like, not only do you need a drain field, but it's going to be huge.
But you need the big one.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. And it's just expensive, you guys.
Yeah, it is.
I can't believe it. It's probably one of the most costly things. It's definitely one of the most costly things that we have had to put money into for like one chunk of something.
Yeah.
Like we had to do the air, we had to do the roof. It's gonna cost almost as much as it costs us to do the roof. So it's a lot. So that's kind of been my trial this week, and like mourning the loss of my yard.
Yeah. And it's probably something you didn't even really think much of before.
I know. We've been in this house just a little over 5 years, and you know, of course, you have all these like hopes and dreams of like how you want things to look and where you're going to put things, and it takes time to get to that point. And like we really wanted to. We have a dying oak tree that needs removed, and it will have to be removed because that's where the septic is going to start essentially. And we were talking about like finding somebody to pull it out, and then we were gonna like put in that space a parking area so we would have actual parking, and we could park probably 3 cars at least in that space. And now like we won't be able to do anything with that space,
Which sucks.
You can't drive over it, you can't put anything heavy at all on it, and especially the septic tank too. Like you can't see the septic tank because that actually is like in the ground.
But it still is like it comes off of it like in a
like I was talking to Matt about it, and he's like, you can't drive anything over that. He's like, it will just collapse the septic tank. So that's terrifying. And obviously we will definitely not do that, but
I know that's why our patio doesn't go further to the right, because then anytime they have to do any septic work, they'd have had to take up the patio.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So we could only do so much.
Yeah, that would have been challenging.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating, and it's a lot of money, and like it's not like anyone. I mean, maybe some people, but like right now is not the time to like really be wanting to drop a lot of your savings on something big like this.
But just such uncertain times, you want to be.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. Like, like that money is supposed to be there because it's uncertain times. Like, what if we need it? But I know like. I have trust and faith in
the universe will provide.
Yeah, and like I have good support system, I have good family. I know like no matter what happens, like even if we get this, we have to get the septic done. But as we get the septic done, like I know like if something happens or we have a rough week or we have issues with work, like we're not going hungry, we're not going homeless.
No.
We're fine, and we're blessed because of that, but it's still frustrating.
Yeah. You or me?
I'll go.
Okay.
So not that it was as big of an expense as a whole new septic, but
Oh.
our AC went out,
Right.
which was not expected.
It was hot. I
It
was
was
over
yeah.
there.
so hot in my house. And we thought they fixed it one day. He came out, he replaced it. He was like, all right, you're good to go. Next day I get home from work and I got off early and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go home, take a nap in my nice cool house. I walked in, my house was 83 degrees, which doesn't sound horrible to a lot of people, but I
When
like
you're
my
in
house cold.
Florida heat, that's rough.
So I was like, what in the world? So I called him back out, and a different guy came back out and checked it out. He was like, oh, well, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and you have a hole in this, and just, there was like 3 to 4 other things wrong with it. So basically we had to replace coils and have the guy solder a hole in our line that was outside.
Oh gosh.
Like big
And
repairs,
the
not just
compressor had to be replaced or something like that. So it was a chunk of money. Granted, we got an amazing deal from the guy because our dad knows him, and I'm so
Thank God.
thankful.
You know so many people.
I know.
So grateful. But at the same time, it was money that I wasn't expecting to have to
Yeah.
dish out.
Yeah.
it's hard.
Which sucks.
Money that could have went somewhere else.
Yes, the money that I had
Yeah.
planned to go somewhere else.
I
That-
get that.
But luckily
didn't
you did
happen.
have the money.
I know.
Yes,
that is a
thankfully I had the
blessing.
money.
Yeah. I'm
was
trying.
able to
I'm
get it
trying to be
fixed.
more optimistic.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Yes.
I am like throwing it on people. So I'm sorry. I'm
No,
not
no,
trying
no.
to
I
discount.
feel
silver
trying to as
lining,
well.
Yeah, I'm not
But
trying
it
to
was
discount
still,
how
like, it was-
frustrating it was.
frustrating,
Yeah. Mine. Speaking of expenses, I don't even know how bad it is yet. But we talked a little bit 2 weeks ago about how I was going to the doctor, I was having a lot of pain, not really able to eat anything, all kind of issues. Surprise, 31 years old, gallbladder is bad, emergency surgery.
By
Super
yourself.
fun time. By myself in the
Couldn't have anybody
hospital.
come up there because of COVID.
No.
Oh, that was the worst. That was hard.
Ben he was able to convince the doctor to let him see me for an hour after the hospital, or after the surgery. So and I don't really remember much of it, but he did get to come up and see me for like an hour. And then that was it. It was like 3 days that I was in the hospital, all by myself. You know, anytime, like, luckily I was, the surgery went incredibly well. Any of the pain that I've had from the surgery hasn't been as bad as the pain I was having that caused me to need the surgery.
That's great.
Yeah.
That
I
says
feel
that
like-
you needed it,
Yeah.
right?
So I feel like it turned out best case scenario, but it was very stressful. I have amazing insurance, but there's going to be huge costs at the end of it. And I have a really hard time with it because like I feel guilty spending money on those sort of things, which is crazy. Like I work, and it's not by Ben's fault by any means. He's never done or said anything that would make me like feel like he sees it as a burden, but just having to spend these chunks of money on me specifically and only me. And it's not going toward the family or anything like that.
But
which
it
I
is
guess it is.
going
I mean, I
towards
have
the
to be.
family. Like,
I have to be in working order, or
yeah.
else whatever.
And honestly, it was so fast.
Mm-hmm.
You went in, you weren't feeling well. They checked a couple things, and you were like, "No, I'm still just not feeling well." And then they got you back in, and then it was like, "Oh yeah, it's got to go."
It's got to
and it
go.
was fast. Like
Yeah.
I'm glad that you caught it because this could have been worse further down the line.
Yeah, they were
It
able
really could've.
to. I guess there's 2 ways to do it. They can do it laparoscopically, which is like with the camera and very small incisions, or there's like the big cut where they just go in and grab it. And luckily they were able to do it laparoscopically. So as far as a major surgery, it was minimal, minor. I mean, it was like minimal. It wasn't super invasive.
Right. Minimally invasive.
Yes, that's what it is.
We'll get it eventually.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm grateful that it's done. I'm grateful to be able to eat more than Jell-O.
Oh, God. I do not like Jell-O.
Yeah.
Bless you.
I didn't love it either, but it was the only way I have any kind of substance without pain.
I feel like there's something in there.
Yeah. And what is like Jello, like 10 calories? Like
I don't even know if it's that.
No, I don't think
so.
Isn't it one of those things that's like it takes you more energy to eat?
Like
than
a
you
negative
actually
calorie?
get? Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
Jello is one of those.
I
kind
know
of
that's
things.
one of the things you can eat when you're in labor is Jello. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
obviously doesn't have that much effect.
No,
I think
it
I'd
doesn't.
rather have ice chips.
So yeah, throughout the whole process though, I did lose 25 pounds. So I'll take it.
Yeah, but your tummy was
Yeah, I couldn't eat anything.
pissed at you.
Yeah.
Man. Like I'm not
It
surprised.
was bound to happen.
You were probably having bloat and stuff.
Yeah, but it was one of those like things that I could be like, hey, at least this happened.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to pay thousands of dollars in medical bills, but
Oh God.
I was talking to my mother-in-law.
But you feel better.
Yeah, I do. So much better. I was talking to my mother-in-law and I said something about it, about losing weight or whatever. It was like freaking most expensive diet I've ever been on. But I'm grateful. I'm feeling a million times better. I'm still real tired. Still having to be careful.
A little achy, a little
Yeah.
sore.
But for the most part, I'm pretty much back to normal and good to go.
Awesome.
So, but on that note, feminism. So, like I said, the whole feminist movement, feminism, well, there's more than one movement actually.
Mhm.
So that's even wrong
Well,
from
you
the
could
get-go.
you could still
And I
like
will
say
say-
movement as a
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
Well-
though it's been
It's 3 stages.
phases or
Phases.
waves of
Mhm.
feminism.
Yeah.
Well-
and honestly, that's kind of controversial too because some people will say there's 3 and some people will say there's 4 waves. But before
my
like, we
research
really
told me
like
3.
we'll see, and that's the thing. So, but before we get into that, let's backtrack just a little bit because we did talk about the fact that like feminism has been on our list for a hot minute, and it has been something that would be like, we'll get to it,
Yeah.
because it can make people feel a certain way. So I know you guys have done some research and stuff
Yeah.
on this topic.
I feel, yeah, definitely.
Better
I think
about
it was
it?
a little bit nerve-wracking because I am not educated on it.
right.
Yes.
So I won't even say, I would consider this like a learning session.
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh,
I
me
won't
too.
even say
So
Oh,
that
don't hold anything against us because we are still, even with our research and stuff,
Yes.
learning it's developing. But so before we started this topic and you would hear the word feminist, or maybe if someone ever asked you if you were a feminist, how did you feel or what would you say to them?
I don't know what I would really say to somebody, but definitely what comes to mind, which of course we'll get into, like I was completely wrong, but it was like a very man-hating, man-bashing,
Right.
Yes.
it had a negative connotation. So what would you say?
For my answer, it would have been more of a, well, I'm for women's rights. Wouldn't, but to me it wasn't feminism because again, my view on that before all the research was like man-haters.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, it's kind of like for me being a vegan. Now, I have friends that are vegan, but they won't say that they're vegan. They'll say that they're plant-based because vegan can have a negative connotation. Because people, some people, I almost want to say like some people ruin it for the bunch
Yeah.
kind of thing. You know,
Absolutely.
you're always in
Yeah.
any kind of a group or a belief system, you're gonna have some people that are gonna just be a little bit, I don't even know what to say.
More
exactly.
radical.
More radical, yes. And that's the kind of stuff that people
And those are the ones that
see
people
at
remember.
the forefront and remember. Yeah. So for me, I've always been a feminist. I've always been. What was it? We were camping this weekend. I'm opinionated. I like to think that I'm passionate, but maybe they go hand in hand. I've always
Passionately
been
opinionated?
very
There you go.
opinionated, and I've always felt like a feminist. But I've also, from very early, like even in like my teen years, I was like, oh yeah, women's rights for sure. But I have had many discussions with people, and even like my husband. It took me years to convince my husband that he was a feminist. We would argue.
Yeah.
We would have arguments, and it would be like those arguments that you're like, well, this is getting us nowhere. You're
Like,
gonna not change
agree
your
to
belief.
disagree.
I'm not gonna change my belief. Like, this is just what it is.
Yeah.
It took a long time for him to realize that a feminist doesn't necessarily mean man-hating or anti-man. And I think a lot of people, that's the first thing that they think.
Yeah.
It does, and
Especially men.
I definitely, after research, I would say that I would 100% identify as a feminist, because how could you not? I mean, I guess there are some that are not, but in my head, being married and in a very traditional relationship, I felt like I couldn't. Like, they couldn't possibly go hand in hand.
Right. Which we'll get into that,
yeah,
too.
it really goes down to the ability and the choice to do whichever, to have just as many rights. And if you want to be in a more traditional setting, then that's okay, too. But, and that's not what it's really about. But it doesn't, like, exclude you.
Right. Well, feminism, by definition, and let me just make sure I say it 100% accurately, is the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality for the sexes. So basically, it's saying, like, we have feminism because we want to be treated the same as everyone.
Yes.
It's not saying we think everyone should be equal. It's not trying to say, like, we think women are better, or you know, we're crybabies and we're like, man, we want this stuff too.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, we just all want to have a fair chance, you know?
We want the same pay. We want the same treatment, to be able to just not, again, it's going to sound more like man-hating, but we want the same rights and treatment as the men get.
No, I don't think that's man-hating at all. Why wouldn't we have the same rights?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we? So, which that kind of brings us to the
first
waves
wave
of feminism.
Yeah.
So, the first wave of feminism, and I wrote down specifically so I would not mess up, was between the late 19th and the 20th century. And these were women who were fighting for the right to vote, fighting for the right to own or inherit property. Women couldn't own property. You couldn't open a bank account.
No,
without a
it was
man representing
you had to
you.
have a man, yeah.
Yes.
And you know what is mind-blowing is that there's still countries in the world
Yes.
that
I
are like
know.
that. It's
I know.
mind-blowing. I didn't know that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. We're very fortunate.
It makes sense because I know that there are many other countries that are far less progressive. But it's just, I guess that exact fact I never realized. And it was crazy because I can't imagine not being able to.
Yeah.
They also were fighting for to have some kind of a stand in political elections. Like, women couldn't run for anything. They couldn't be in charge of things, really.
Yeah.
They also were fighting for rights, anti-discrimination rights for their work. So even I remember looking, and there were a couple of women who did run for government, and they didn't win, but like at that time it was like
so unheard of, and so
it fueled the movement because they were like, we know we're not going to win, but
even if
we
they didn't
have
win,
to
it's
try.
like it's huge.
Yeah. Which is really cool, and I think kind of ballsy.
Yeah, I think that's huge, especially going into something knowing. I mean, I guess you can't know 100%, but knowing it's very unlikely that you would ever win.
And fortunately, those women and those men that supported those women, they did get the right for women to vote. They did start to get in place, laws and acts so that they could have anti-discrimination in the workforce. And they eventually did get to where they could run for political elections, which is really amazing. We did a lot in the first wave of feminism. Now, a lot of people will say, like, okay, well, what's left, you know? So these women really like paved the way for us, which is amazing. And then we move into the second wave of feminism, which for me really resonated with me as a young adult. And that was between the 60s and the 80s, and we were still fighting for some of the same things. And you'll see this as you go through the different waves of feminism, that it's two steps forward, or one step forward, two steps back.
Yeah.
One step forward, two steps back. Like, we're constantly trying to like gain ground because unfortunately we live in a patriarchal society, which, and I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, it just means that our leaders and our people in charge are very male dominated. And so they're not, I don't feel like it's malicious, like they're trying to like keep us at a place,
But you almost have to be very I can't even think of the word, but like on purpose. You have to really make sure that
You're
you're being aware.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. So, and I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's always those people that is exactly what they're doing. They do, they really just are kind of malicious. Or,
Right.
or,
There's always bad apples no matter where you go.
Yes. So in the second wave of feminism, what they were fighting for was rights to their body, first off. So rights to birth control, rights to a body autonomy. So like they wanted to not just feel like their bodies were sexual images or sex symbols, that they were just mothers and wives, that we are people. We're people, we have value outside of traditional roles. And so in that wave, you had a lot of people that were like kind of bucking like more traditional situations, which I can understand, Shannon, why you were saying like, oh well, I'm a wife and a mother, and I just didn't know if that was like if you were part of the feminist movement, because you think those traditional things would maybe make you look like you were less than a feminist.
But I will say, in that mindset, it's almost an uneducated view, because I am that way, but only because so many women before me have made that an option.
Right.
That I chose to be in a traditional relationship.
Which that
but
leads
the fact
us
that there was
further
a choice,
on in feminism.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a choice. It also was about, fighting for maternity rights, and still also trying to fight for anti-discrimination in the workforce. And now, not just anti-discrimination, but equal pay, which unfortunately we are still fighting for to this day. Yeah. So,
I will say, like, I'm comfortable. I feel like I work for a very good company, that I don't necessarily feel like that's my reality. But whenever it comes to, like, when feminism comes to mind, like, that's probably the main issue that comes to mind. That, and then reproductive rights, of course. Or not. I don't know how you would even word that.
How about, like, with you, like, same, like I've always been a homemaker, and then I've done little stuff. Now I'm a caregiver. So you, as someone who works in an office, have you had any or noticed any discrimination in the workforce? Like, have you ever had, if you haven't noticed it, like, say on the DL, have you, like, by uneven pay or someone getting promoted above you, have you noticed it with, like, people, maybe coworkers diminishing you or belittling you in a way, like, oh, sweetie, I can handle this, like, you weren't capable or something? 'Cause I've had that just in the restaurant business.
I will say that the majority I do hate those, sweetie, but I will say that the majority of who I work with aren't actually women. So I don't. Even people in the highest of positions, people that I look up to, that I work under, I do feel like it's a pretty even-keeled situation. So, but I think that I'm just blessed to work for a really good company, because it still is the reality. And so many, I've worked for other companies that it was very much like that. It was, you weren't taken seriously, your ideas, your thought process, which is crazy, because whenever it comes to scheduling and budgeting and any kind, like, whenever you work in finance, not that women are better, but even if somebody had been a homemaker or whatever, like, you still have some serious skills with scheduling and budgeting and things along those lines, and dealing with money. And because I work in finance, like, that's my reality. I mean, I know it's different for everybody. But the point is that those skills, they're not lost just because you're not working while your kids are young and you're raising or whatever, like that gap in employment. I know that can be something that a lot of women struggle with, and that people can look down on.
Now, have you ever felt like you were passed up on a job or anything because that was given to, say, a man in that similar position?
Quite the opposite.
Okay, good.
I had a situation with, I was pretty much treated like arm candy.
Oh, no.
And I was there pretty much to sweeten the deal.
I've worked in, like,
that's
a situation
disgusting.
where I was the arm candy too, or the bait. Like, okay, so when I worked in the restaurant business, I was a hostess and I loved it because I love people. I love the regulars. You gotta wait 10 minutes. What do you want to talk about? Like, I'm here for it. So it was really hard for me that we had to like be, which was a nicer place, but like the women had to be like, you know, perfectly coiffed, and your hair has to be just so, and you have to wear makeup. Like I had my manager not say to me, but say to someone else, like, oh, you like gonna like put any makeup on for work tonight? Like, why? Do you gonna tell the man to, you know, put some makeup on or pluck his unibrow?
I would've like, he's not wearing any makeup.
Yeah. He could use some eyeliner, okay?
Yeah.
I saw that firsthand, especially in the restaurant business. And as a hostess, if we were, you know, having a slower night or something, they wanted us to stand outside and like basically try to get people in off the street. And I hated like feeling like I'm the bait.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not gonna go out there and like try to be flirty and pull people in. Like, yeah, I understand like I'm personable and you know, easy to talk to, and I do seem to attract people that want to like chit chat and stuff. But I feel like if you have a business, then what should be at the forefront of that is whatever you're selling in your business.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to stand out there and be bait to get someone in to buy a cocktail.
Yeah, in my situation, it was, we had an auditor that was coming in. And the auditor was apparently a single male and blah, blah, blah. And I was told to look nice and be playful and sweet. And I was like, really?
Gross.
Like, that's, I mean, sure it wasn't like prostitution, but it was pretty close.
Yeah, and that's awful.
And I was young, and I didn't really realize until years later. Like, I knew I felt weird about it in the moment, but I didn't realize till later how weird that was. Like,
and it makes you feel a little icky.
Yeah.
How about you, Heather? Have you had any discrimination in the workforce? Nothing
That's
at all?
amazing.
You gotta think, the workforces I've been in, vets, high percentage of vet techs, vet assistants are women.
That's kind of cool, yeah.
Dental, high percentage women.
Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily cool that it's mostly women. It's just cool that you haven't had to experience anything
But
like that.
It's because so many women have worked so hard
to get
for that I do realize it's still very real.
Actually, the first dental assistant was a woman.
Oh, yeah?
Really?
I didn't know that.
It was a dentist's wife. He trained her.
Oh,
well then.
Well, now y'all know.
Food for thought.
I cannot remember her name, but
that's okay. We won't give you a hard time about it.
But anyway, what's the next wave?
Oh, okay.
I didn't do much on the history of it. I did more like on like myth debunking because I knew that you would. I knew you would have.
I did more of the history part.
Well, before we move to the next wave, I think it's important to point out that from the second wave that we were able to get rape upgraded to a criminal offense. So that was
huge.
A big deal because before that
it was just like no, you're fine, or we don't believe you kind of which still today is still a,
which we'll get into that.
But even still,
climb the ladder here.
There was a period in time that it wasn't a crime to rape your wife.
Yeah, it's not a crime to
rape anyone.
Rape anybody.
Period.
But like even still, it took a while.
It was just a part of
life.
People,
because they were seen as property.
We also, during this wave, which, speaking of being seen as property, we got recognition of domestic abuse. So what that means is it used to be just swept under the rug, domestic abuse. Oh, that man beats his wife.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It's his wife.
It's his wife. Yeah.
He can do what he wants with her.
And so I think that's why the second wave of feminism is probably one of my most favorite waves, because we just got to a point where it was like, no, we need to be seen. We need to be heard. A lot of great art, feminist art came out of this time period. A lot of like body autonomy, like people just owning their bodies, and if they wanted to, you know, be half naked, then it was their choice. It wasn't because they were doing it for someone else, you know. Like I'm thinking specifically of like photography and stuff of that time period. There's some really beautiful. I watched a great documentary called.
I never did get to watch it. I still want to watch it, but I didn't get to.
Good. I thought I wrote it down. It was like. Feminism, how did we get here, or what were they thinking? That's what it is, and I think it's on Netflix, and it was really, really good. Jane Fonda is in it, Lily Tomlin is in it.
I love Jane Fonda.
Her and Lily Tomlin are so awesome. Have you watched that Grace and Frankie?
A little bit, not much.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
so good.
Hilarious.
Hilarious. And they actually, this is a little sidebar. So they actually were in Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 movie, both of them. And Lily Tomlin was already a forefront. She was an artist, so like a performance artist, and she was already doing big stuff for feminist art movements. But then they got together and did that 9 to 5 movie with Dolly Parton, which is about like working women, which made me really want to watch that. I have not seen it since I was a kid, so I'll have to hunt it down. But who doesn't love Dolly Parton?
Right?
So very cool. Jane Fonda is really cool too. It's a very good documentary, but yeah, they were part of that.
That's
they were
really
in there.
cool.
So, third wave feminism. So this is kind of tricky because depending on who you ask or where you look, there'll be people that say there are 4 waves, there'll be people that say there are 3 waves, and that we are in either the 3rd or the 4th wave. So like some people say we're still in 3rd wave, and some people say, well, no, this is separate, it's 4th. For me, it's when I was doing my research, it seemed like basically the stuff that they're fighting for in the 3rd wave is the same kind of stuff that we are still fighting for now. And unfortunately, this is why it's so important to me that we still have feminism and that we still have people fighting for these rights, because we, while we have gained a lot, and people will say like, well, what do you need feminism for? You're fine, you're equal now. And it's like, no, we're still not equal. We're still not
because
getting
it
equal
needs
pay.
to be enforced.
Yes.
Yes, because making something wrong or illegal or bringing light to it doesn't necessarily just fix the problem. It has to be enforced, and there's going to always be the people that are going to push against it. And that's why I think it almost like it needs like a refresher.
And that's what it is. Yeah, it's like you have to like remind them like, hey, we're still over here.
Yeah,
you
haven't
can't just
changed
you
our
can't,
mind.
you can't backstep on us. So the 3rd wave would be from the 90s to the 2000s, or from the 90s to present day. And again, unfortunately, we're fighting for some of the same things. Some of the big things that I really love about modern day feminism is that now we're fighting for intersectional feminism. So what that means is feminism including all women's rights for all people that identify as women.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I mean, it makes sense, but I had no idea that it even encompassed that.
Yeah, so which would include, gender roles, sex positivity, the Me Too movement. So like giving a voice to these women that have been mistreated or abused physically, sexually, emotionally. I'm sure you guys, I don't know if you followed along, but I know I was just glued to the Kavanaugh trial, which was a travesty.
Yeah.
A travesty. Which just says to me, we need more feminism. I'm sorry, but we can't stop, And it's funny because, I think that's another thing. Like, you bring up feminism and people think like, oh, you already got the right to vote a long time ago. You know what I'm saying?
It's more.
But it's more, and it's still, you still see it. You still see misogyny. You still see women being their value being based on their bodies or what they can offer. We don't hold men to the same standards, and if that's the case, then we should.
Yeah.
So 3rd wave feminism, we're still a part of it.
And it's definitely something that I feel like I need to get more involved in because, like I said, I was completely uneducated. And that's part of the hesitation of even wanting to do a
Talk about it
podcast
in the
on
first
this,
place.
because I definitely don't like to pretend that I know it all, because I don't. But I do. I love that we each have such different values and interests and interests. Let me make that a little more weird. That it kind of like
Gives you a little different
makes
perspective.
me have like different perspective and gain opinions on things that I didn't previously have.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I found a couple of different myths.
Oh yeah, let's hear these.
We already kind of covered this one, but not all or even mostly are bra-burning radicals that hate men. It's not about hating men, which I really didn't know. And I thought that was really cool. And a lot of these kind of, I felt like I chose the ones that fit my life. I mean, or were most relative to me. And it says women, or the myth is that women can't be feminine and be a feminist at the same time because it just doesn't fit this stereotypical bra burning idea.
Yeah.
But no, it's about choices.
And that's still prevalent today in third, fourth wave feminism.
Yeah.
Is that like thought of, like you said, like, well, now how am I feminist if I'm a housewife? Well, you choose to be a housewife. That's your choice. You have that choice. And like you said, it's about choice now. Like, well, sometimes I want to shave my legs. Sometimes I don't. And you know, I do. I'll go months without shaving, and then sometimes I'll shave, and it's fine. It's my choice. But, you know, I'll still get oogled. I'll still get even women that'll be like, oh, you need to shave. And
like,
I kind of love it because I'm like, ha 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 ha, look at it. Look at my hair.
Get uncomfortable.
Yeah, sit with it a minute. So that's kind of cool. Like, you can make that choice. I can also make the choice to wear red lipstick because I want to, because it makes me feel good. Not because I need to put my face on before I see people for the day. You know? I can wear it.
Can you be this is the first time I've worn lip gloss since a long time.
Well, and I hope you did it for you because it made you feel good.
Makes you feel more put together or
a little bit
comfortable, happier. And
I wanted to look less dead.
Yeah, well, hey, I've been there too.
That's what makeup is for me. Like, it just makes me feel better. Like, my husband could care. Actually, he probably prefers that I don't wear makeup
at all.
Mine too. That's so funny. And that's interesting. When it comes down to it, I feel like, okay, so before, like, when you're dating, right? Then you like feel that need to like be all gussied up and stuff, and like you might have men that are like really into that kind of thing, but then it's like when you fall in love with someone, they don't really care.
No.
When you find the right person, they don't really care. My husband doesn't care if my legs are shaved. He'd rather I never wear makeup. Like, he prefers more natural. And I find that with a lot of women who are partnered with
I think Ben, at the end of the day, it just is because it'll like rub off on his shirt and stuff like that. But it's still like he doesn't care. Like,
because he loves
he
you.
doesn't think twice about me not wearing makeup.
Which is a beautiful feminist sentiment. He loves you for you.
And that he better, because I'm not going to wear makeup on a regular basis. Especially not with working from home now, especially. Like, I find myself kind of getting away from doing it because I feel like I should. And it's just because, like, I just feel like wearing makeup today. Like, I can do it because I want to. And I always had that choice. But I will say, I kind of felt like I needed it to feel put together.
Well, and do you feel as you get older that you've because okay, I'm almost 35. My birthday is in another next Monday. And so like the older I get, the more just okay with who I am. I am. You know what I mean? And like when you were younger, you have that like societal pressure.
I've always
be
dealt
a certain
with
way, act a certain way as women. We are.
I think I have a doctor's appointment on your birthday for a blood draw.
Oh, exciting!
Well, just a blood draw. Just like, why is that date something?
I get very. I've dealt with bad skin for years, so. I've got scarring, and I've always been self-conscious and kind of felt like I needed to wear makeup. But I will say, as I've gotten older, that's changed a lot. It is what it is. It's not a reflection of me. It's just part of who I am.
It's just part of life.
Yeah.
And you're not alone in that.
I'm not. Yeah. Everybody has their flaws.
And in the end, people aren't really paying that much attention.
Exactly.
And
Nobody noticed as much as me.
Yeah, and the ones that are, those are the people you need to just not care about in the first place. It usually means that they have something going on in their own hearts, something that they're dealing with.
That they're trying to not reflect. What's the
It's like gaslighting a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like they're picking apart someone else so that they can try to feel a little bit better, or kind of like even the playing field or something.
Yeah.
Which is awful. All right, next myth.
Anyway, feminism only liberates women at the expense of men. And that's not true, obviously. It's about breaking down gender stereotypes. And it can go both ways. Because what I found interesting, and I actually didn't make a note about it, so I'm going to kind of like wing it here. But feminism is actually really good for men as well. Because it breaks down those gender stereotypes that if a dad wants to be a stay-at-home dad, that's okay too.
Yes.
Like, and traditionally it's not been okay.
Right. Well, and the same thing as a man, you're brought up to mostly
to be hardworking and strong and
yes,
no
masculine.
emotion.
Yes,
Things
don't
like
show
that.
any
And it's
emotion,
about
don't cry.
Yeah. It's about breaking those things down as much as it is about building women up.
Because once again, it's about equality. And yeah, I mean, we should be raising men who, you know, are able to feel their emotions, are able to cry, are able to know their weaknesses and learn from them.
Yeah.
You know, to not just you know, get upset or get angry or bottle it up for that matter, because then usually, you know how it is, like a volcano, it's like an explosion.
So, and then the last thing I had that was interesting to me is that Susan B. Anthony was not just about racial inequality, it was very much gender inequality, and I didn't learn about that in school.
Yeah, I knew that.
So whenever I came across it, I was like, that's pretty cool. She was all about
that.
equality all the way around.
We have a lot of amazing...
She did a lot for like the slave movement.
Yeah, that's how I didn't know.
And that's how I knew her. So whenever I came across the research and it, like, her name caught my eye, and I was like, wait. And I thought that Google just kind of took me on different, you know, equality searches. I don't know, but I just thought that was interesting that names that you wouldn't even really realize have anything to do with that have. You know, these are important people.
Right.
So
so that kind of brought us through 3rd/4th wave feminism. Something else I was gonna say is, so again, back to like veganism. So just because I can use that as a comparison. So veganism is kind of like a word as a whole that encompasses other little sections. You can be a raw vegan. You can be a low-fat vegan, you can be a fruitarian, you know what I'm saying? And those are all kind of under still that umbrella. So the same thing, even though we have the different waves of feminism, within those waves, we actually have different kind of types. And so the different types are, and I'm just gonna run down them fairly quickly, and this is like more like niche, you know what I'm saying? And it doesn't mean, it's just like things aren't black and white. Like maybe you feel a little bit, you could fit into this group, maybe you fit into this group a little bit, maybe you fit a little bit into all of the groups or none of them, you know? So the first one is going to be liberal feminist. They believe that equality can be achieved through legal means and social reform, which I would probably say I definitely have a little foot into that camp, because we have to make changes. They have to be firm. We just had, fortunately, recently had a law go to the Supreme Court about abortion rights, that the Supreme Court, it was kind of scary as a feminist. Like, I'm talking like just like a week ago, that the Supreme Court was like, psh, no. And I was like, oh God, thank God, because what it would have done is just been a little, like a crack in a door. You know what I'm saying? And it would have just made that door easier to swing closed or swing open, whatever way, not a positive direction. And it's important because, you know, we've already fought for these things, but here there's always going to be some group or somebody pushing some kind of different agenda. And I was just really proud that the Supreme Court ruled against it, because it was important. And so we need that. We need rules, we need laws, we need stuff in place to protect everyone. And we're not just talking women, we're talking about everyone. Because as you know, if we're talking, you know, transgender people or LGBT people, like they could also be having domestic abuse, and they could be same partnered. You know what I'm saying? It still is wrong, and we need these laws in place. So the next one is radical feminist. So a radical feminist believes that sexism is deeply rooted in society, and that it has to eliminate the concept of gender altogether. So basically they're saying like,
it's very extreme.
It's almost like when people are like, I don't see color. It's hard for me because it is extreme. And it's like, well, no, there's color, you know, like people are all different colors. It's beautiful. You know, why wouldn't you want to see it? So it's basically saying like, we should almost be genderless. You know, we shouldn't have like women are men, or women are this kind of do these things and men are
Yeah.
these things, you know, which I kind of understand, but at the same time, it is a bit extreme for me. Like, we have genders. Like, for me, I feel like we want to embrace it. I love there are things that I love about being a woman, and ways that I could never imagine being a man.
Right, yeah.
And that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't mean that I dislike or hate men. It just means, like, I'm comfortable in myself and with my gender.
Yeah.
The next one is cultural feminism, which believes in encouraging feminine behavior rather than masculine behavior. That one's kind of meh for me, because I feel like you should just behave however you feel. Like, I don't feel like
that's like backwards.
Yes, I feel, well, and those are going to be the feminists that are push more, that are pushing more for, you know, maybe women should be in charge. Women should, you know, be the ones that are, you know, on top. And honestly, that would be like making a matriarchal society instead of a patriarchal society, which I don't necessarily agree with. I feel like we need some kind of in between, but not genderless.
Because both sexes have a lot to offer.
Yes, and we're very different.
Yeah.
So, so that was cultural feminism. The next one is socialist, which, let's see, they want the end of capitalism and to bring down the patriarchal systems, which
so it's very similar.
Similar but different, because they're talking on a very specific, kind of like a very specific thing. So, like, they think that, you know, corporations are dominantly ran by men. You know, corporations nowadays, they own so much. Like, for instance, I'll just say Disney. Disney owns everything.
So much.
Everything.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, like, we need to stop this. We need to, you know, put more women into these places. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. But again, I don't feel like we need a matriarchal or a patriarchal society. I feel like we need somewhere kind of in between. Ecofeminist. So an ecofeminist is an environmental feminist. So I'm not really sure. I feel like that sounds
like that
to me like, and you know, drop a line if you understand this a little bit more. For me, it just sounds like someone like me. Like, I'm a feminist who also
is an environmentalist.
Yeah. I don't quite understand
like how that would
how
fall in
it plays in exactly, because to me it just sounds like it's its own separate thing.
Yeah.
So if you have a little bit more of a better understanding of feminism,
I'd like to hear more about that.
I'd be curious too.
Yeah.
And then finally, and there might be other types or sects or whatever, but I have intersectional feminism, which is my favorite. So intersectional feminism is the belief that not all women are white, middle class, cisgendered people. So cisgendered means like you were born a woman biologically, and that's how you stay.
Okay.
So it would exclude a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people would be excluded from that, and that we need to fight for equality for all. And as you guys know, we have friends, we have people that are basically family that fall into these categories, and I would hate for them to be marginalized or to be treated less than. I mean, and sometimes these people are. It's like, okay, we're in a patriarchal society, so like the men are in charge, and then here we are as women fighting for rights, and then they're way down here, and like that's awful. Like, they shouldn't be marginalized. They have a voice.
Equal across the board. Like, I don't understand that why it's like so complicated about
I know,
that.
same. I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting, because I hadn't ever, I've heard of radical feminism, but I didn't ever really know exactly what that meant. I just thought it meant, like, you know, like you said, gung-ho, bra-burden feminists that were like, you know, wearing trousers and stuff because they didn't want to be any kind of way.
They're very anti-woman almost.
Yes, they don't want to be associated with like
the stereotypical
femininity. They wanted to be kind of like somewhere in between. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. That's pretty much my notes, you guys.
I think we covered quite a bit, and actually I learned quite a bit, which I always like. I always like that, which is because it kind of like strikes me to research a little bit more later and kind of get more involved in things. I like things like that, but we are getting long-winded, so we should probably.
We would though love to hear from you, as long as just like keep it kind. We're learning. We're all learning. totally, if we get
We're
something
definitely
wrong,
not
we want to
pretending
know.
to be experts.
Yeah. If we get something wrong, we want to know because we are learning, and knowledge is power. Help us out.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your takes. I'd love to hear if you didn't think you were a feminist, but now you're like, oh yeah, actually.
I guess I probably
Yeah,
did
yeah,
fit in
yeah,
now.
And then one more thing. I found this really cool statistic. 18% of Americans consider themselves feminist. Only 18%.
Wow.
While 85% of Americans support rights for women. If that's from the New York Times. Isn't that funny?
Feminism.
But that just goes to show that people like Heather and I, who definitely didn't really consider themselves feminists,
because you hear that
they are
negative
without
connotation.
realizing.
Yes. Yeah. So I thought that was really kind of funny. Like, and that's from the New York Times. So I just thought that was really kind of funny. All right. I guess
stuff.
Yeah. Triumphs.
I'll go last.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we go?
I don't really have anything. I mean, mine's the same as my trial. I got surgery, and I feel better. And I know that sounds crazy, like how can surgery be a triumph? But I was in such bad shape.
And pain and
constant.
You were miserable.
How about camping this weekend?
I did
Speaking
go camping.
of feminism,
camping
with
me alone with 2 little girls. I went camping we were gonna go 3 nights, but we ended up going 2 nights. We got rained out. But either way, it was so much fun. The girls had a blast. We haven't done anything because of COVID, and I'm still very nervous to go around and do too much. But it was, camping. So it was like a vacation, but it was the compromise. I can't take them to Disney, obviously.
Right.
Or on a cruise.
Or a cruise or whatever. But they've just been trapped and locked up for so long.
They were so bored.
They needed something to do. And they had a blast. They had a pool, lots of cookout, friends. It was a really good time.
The swimming and stuff.
Only possible because I finally had surgery. Because I actually wasn't going to go because I was afraid of being so far away from a hospital.
I get it.
Like, mind-blowing that I didn't realize how inhibiting it was. Like, I just wasn't able to do anything or make any plans because I didn't know if it was going to be a good day or a bad day. And the odds of having a good weekend were slim to none. So I knew that whatever. But yeah, so everything's been really good.
It's awesome.
And lots of good things coming.
I actually have a couple this week, so I'm just gonna roll them all out because I couldn't choose. So I don't know if I said something last podcast that I was going to the doctor and I haven't been in like 12 years. But I went to the doctor, everything was good, and then I just got my blood test results back this week, and they're so good. They're all good. I was so nervous. I don't know why. I guess because you guys had
people give you a hard time about being vegan and
well,
are
that's
your levels
true.
where they're
That's
supposed to be.
True.
And plus we do have
in our family
like low iron and
B12,
different things
vitamin
like that.
D. In our family,
just goes
we
to show
have that.
Being
So
vegan
I was
has
nervous.
got something good going on.
I was like, if you guys are low in some things, maybe I might be real low. You know,
Yeah.
I was a little nervous. I haven't had blood work done in almost 12 years.
Yeah.
Since Annika was born. So I was really just kind of nervous, and everything came back good, and I had to they didn't even have to go in because it was good. So I was talking to one of the nurses on the phone, and I recognized their voice, and they were like, no, you're good. And I was like, okay, but how about this? How about that? And and I could tell they could hear my nervousness.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. You're fine. This is fine. Yep, this is great. This is great. And I was like, okay, sure. I guess I trust you. I want to see it. Can you text it to me?
Awesome.
I'm so surprised you don't get emailed your blood work or able
Yeah,
to log on to
someone
a
said
portal.
They probably could.
Yeah,
I'm
someone
saying
said,
both
you
my
can
doctors,
log
I
on.
can
I don't know
go
how
to
to
the
do
portal
that
and
yet.
look
I don't know how to
everything.
do it yet. I'll figure it out. I didn't even know it was a thing until I was giving or doing the blood work, and the woman was like, "Oh, you can log in." I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." She's like, "It's easy. Your doctor's office should tell you." So I have to next time I go in, I'll have to get the information.
Set up, yeah.
But then on my other plus side, we saw Chris's family. His dad lives in I always mess this up, Rhode Island, and he travels a lot. We're not they're family, so we love them, we're close, but we haven't had a lot of time with them because they move around different states and stuff with his work, and they told us last night we saw them for 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, everyone.
Yeah.
A little late, but
All you Americans. And then that he is moving back, that they're moving back.
Oh,
so
yay.
him, his wife, and then Chris's little brothers, they're all moving back to Florida, and like now. So
Well, they already have a house. So.
yeah, well, they got another house.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Ponte Vedra, they have like schools and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
awesome.
And then also my friend Becky, a little bit of a sad, I guess it's whatever. It's not necessarily sad. It just is a shift. She and her partner for years have separated, and she was looking for a place in Jacksonville, and she ended up picking a place here in town. And I am like, I feel guilty because I'm so excited that she's going to be so much closer.
Right.
She's gonna
It's
be
like
over in the
you
shores,
want to be
so.
like sensitive.
Yeah.
But you're
and-
excited at the same time.
No, she's awesome. She's already gotten her stuff moved in. She's like feeling like good and independent.
Good.
Which is always good.
Yeah. Because that's hard to go through.
So I'm super glad that she is going to be in town and so close. And I'm actually going to go see her after work at her new place tomorrow. So.
Oh, good.
Nice.
It's good to be there for her because that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
That's all of them?
That's it.
Well, you two already know.
Well, yeah.
But our
it's
people
still
don't
just
know.
exciting.
But today I am officially 12 weeks pregnant and just almost out of the danger zone.
Yeah.
We're having a baby!
So as long as, the next week goes well,
And
I
it's gonna
drop
be
down
great.
to like
It's
a
gonna be
1% chance. Right now they said I'm at about a 2% chance of anything going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We've already heard baby's heartbeat. We've already seen baby moving on ultrasound. So
Everything's looking beautiful.
So
yes.
excited.
But
We're all
I'm
so excited.
still a ball of nerves.
Well, of
Well,
course,
I get
and you
it.
will be.
It's great though. It's amazing.
We're super excited. Everyone is excited.
Everyone.
We haven't had a baby in so long.
I know.
And it'll be 7 years by the time this one comes.
Yeah.
Because Jack will be 7 just before this baby.
Yeah. And it was, for a while we had baby.
Oh, yeah.
And we all just stopped.
Yeah. So now it's nice to, and I get my baby fix without actually having to have
Me
a
too.
baby. So I get the baby fix and I get to sleep through the night too.
I'm gonna need the help because my Bobby's pretty soon after, or possibly even before birth, will be on deployment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
rough.
all
That's
the help
hard.
from y'all guys would be great.
It will be.
All right,
But-
guys. So don't forget, please feel free to email us if you have, or even leave in the comments below if you have any topic ideas,
Questions, anything.
questions. If you need any kind of support, we're here for you. Let us know. You can find us at 3 Sisters 1 Heart Podcast at gmail.com, 3 Sisters 1 Heart Podcast on Instagram. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and Libsyn. And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.